This podcast is recorded on stolen and unceded Aboriginal land.
We acknowledge the First Nations and elders of this country and join their calls for justice. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land.
Talk about the Greens, that bunch of idiots.
If you want the dole for life, free marijuana, vote Greens.
These people, these Greens, they are snake oil salesmen.
They're a bunch of ratbags and a bunch of idiots, and I've got no time for them whatsoever.
Frankly, I've always found the Greens to be a real serious danger to Australia.
Serious danger to Australia.
All right, comrades, please put your hands together, make a shitload of noise. Welcome to the stage, your hosts, Emerald Moon and Tom Bella. That was not enough time. Hello.
Yeah. Tom had to come out before me. It was a whole thing. Anyway, hello, welcome. Right here in Milton, the home of the Queensland Maroons. This is Serious Danger, a podcast about green politics in Australia. How is everyone?
Hello, everybody.
The regular disclaimer, this is not an official Greens Party podcast, and it never will be. This podcast is, of course, produced by Michael the Group Griffin, who is over there somewhere in the dark. Please give him a hand.
Give it up for the Griff.
I'm Emerald Moon. That's Tom Ballard. Hi, Tom.
Hello, everybody. Hi, Emerald. Thanks for having me in a wonderful city.
Here in another sold-out show in frickin' Brisbane, baby.
Wow, they don't care about that at all, dude.
Yeah.
There are more
What, you
people
don't
coming.
love Brisbane?
I know there's an
Wow.
empty seat right in front of us, but the people are coming, I promise.
Cowards. Yeah, I hope someone comes and has to make their way through the whole audience and just sit down there and look right up at us. I'll try not to kick you. In a little bit, we will be joined by our very special guest tonight or today, the Greens member for Ryan Elizabeth Watson-Brown.
Give it up for Libby!
Give it up for Libby.
The lone survivor of Greensland.
The lone survivor, that's right. Never say die, Libby Watson-Brown. But we're going to talk about a bunch of other things. We're going to do a whip around of some news, and then Tom's going to tell me about some really exciting movement that's growing, this political movement in Queensland. So I'm excited to hear a little bit about that.
Yep.
But first of all, we have to do a thing where we thank our new patrons. People will be listening at home, people who are in the room, a spare moment for those who couldn't make it and who are listening at home. And we are here to tell them thank you to the people who've signed up on our Patreon. Evan, Caitlin, SP, very mysterious, James, Nikki, Stephanie, and Brian, who is called Brian.
Yep.
Thank you for signing up to support the show. Who here is a Patreon subscriber? Thank you very much. It helps keep the show going. It pays Mike's wages. We very much appreciate it. And we have a new episode out on Patreon with Dr. Simon Copland on his new book on the manosphere. Yes. Very interesting, a little bit controversial.
Yes, a few spicy takes.
Yeah.
We hate women, apparently.
Absolutely. As you know, famed misogynist Emerald. But yeah, really enjoyed doing that. So have a listen if you haven't already. Okay, that's enough. I think we can do the live show.
Okay, let's do a live show, everybody.
Yay!
Thank you so much for being here. It's excited. I think it'll be good. I think it feels like we need this, right? Because we've done live shows before. It's a beautiful shot in the arm, and it's been a tough couple of weeks for us.
We're going to fix everything. Well, It hasn't been too tough because Wednesday night we had a win. Am I right? Queenslander! Yeah,
I've written here on this piece of paper, how about that state of origin?
Melbourne, everyone. Look, okay, I don't know if anyone caught this, though. This was in the little gossip politics column in the Courier Mail, but that the Queensland state government, the LNP government, has now distributed guidance among the public service that this coat of arms, the preferred colour is blue as opposed to maroon, which is fucking blasphemous. If you ask me, I can't believe they're even allowed to do that.
Why would they do that? Is Queensland's official
LNP
state colour?
is blue.
Oh, God, they're the worst!
They're the fucking worst. And they're un-Queenslanderian, so...
Queensland for the Queenslanders, that's what I say.
That's right, yeah.
So it was a really good game on Wednesday. I didn't watch. I was actually at a contemporary circus performance in Melbourne. So we all live different lives. But it was a good game for the boys.
It was fucking stressful. It was stressful. But we won and we'll see what happens in Sydney, I think, game 3.
And you won all now, and the next one is the decider, right?
That's right. Yes,
okay,
there are so 3 games.
Yes.
It's New South Wales versus Queensland, and it's National Rugby League.
Right, great. And they do rehearsals and have intervals and that
It's
kind of
something
thing?
like that, yes. Yeah. They wear costumes. It's glorious.
No necks. All right, good. All right. Well, we're going to have a chat to our guest in a little bit, which is very exciting. We thought we'd do a whip round of sort of the news of the week kind of thing. It's been a wonderful week of news. War with Iran, go.
Oh. Maybe we could just ask the audience. War with Iran, good or bad?
Good or bad?
Good. Bad. Oh, bad. There we go. Decided.
Right,
that's diplomacy.
Yep, that's snorted.
All right.
We've sorted that out. I was going to say, Penny Wong, for fuck's sake, said, we want dialogue, diplomacy, and we want de-escalation, and we want Iran to return to the table. They were at the fucking table, mate.
Yeah.
You just blew up the table. Anyway, that's what I think. We want Iran to stop any nuclear weapons programs. Iran has the opportunity to engage in diplomacy and they should take it. No comments on what Israel should or shouldn't do, a country that actually has nuclear weapons, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, champion of saying nothing while saying lots of words. Thanks, Penny.
My thing, if we kick off a war, like, can we break up with America then, do you think? Like, look at their fucking record in the 21st century is Afghanistan and Iraq and Libya and now starting another fucking war backing in Israel. Then do we get to be independent?
Oh, are we in a relationship with America? From what I'm gathering...
They're fucking us on the ring!
Okay. I mean, Albanese can't even meet up with Trump, so I don't know. I think Albanese thinks he's in a relationship, but
yes.
Trump has moved on.
He's getting blocked. He's getting the cold shoulder on social media. Yes, he's been trying to talk to Trump in overseas meetings to talk about tariffs and AUKUS. Trump left the G7 meeting in Canada early, skipping a face-to-face meeting with Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, supposedly to deal with the crisis in the Middle East. We did everything I had to do with the G7. Hey, that was all right.
Take it again. Take it again. Go on.
We did everything I had to do with the G7, he told journalists on Air Force One. After Trump left this week's G7 summit, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum and Indian PM Narendra Modi had phone conversations with Trump. Albanese, it seems, did not.
Oh!
Slammed. But yeah, Trump was just way too busy. He was focused on the Middle East, focused on Iran. He just had to focus on that.
We have to get coffee. Anyway. We just have to.
We have to. He was just flat out and busy. And then the first story we heard after the G7 was this. Trump installs gigantic US flags at the White House. While President Donald Trump weighs the single most consequential decision of his time in office so far, the possibility of US military intervention in Iran, he's also completing a personal project years in the making. We've all got personal projects.
Multitasking king.
Trump on Wednesday morning oversaw the installation of a pair of flagpoles on the White House lawn, one on the south side of the building, the other on the north. It's such a beautiful pole, Trump said. As workers used a crane to install the latest addition to the South Lawn, these are the best poles anywhere in the country or in the world. This is good. We should spend more time with him. I like this. Trump spent nearly an hour inspecting and commenting on the flagpole's installation. Again, Anthony, I simply cannot talk to you. I have no time to discuss our relationship. I got to look at these motherfucking poles.
Yeah. Which cost, what was it, quote, like $50,000?
$50,000.
Like $50,000. That's in the quote. I love that.
She'll try to figure it out. So yeah, we should probably break up with him pretty quick. I think Albanese is hanging out for another meeting at the next NATO leaders summit. However, it's being reported that Albanese, keen to avoid perceptions of a snub, will only attend the summit if a meeting with Trump is a certainty. Which is just like, is this how international diplomacy works now?
Stand up for yourself, Albo. That's right, yeah.
Can't they fucking Zoom? Why do they need to meet in person?
That's a really good question. Like, he's having phone conversations with Modi. Why can't he get on the phone with Albo? I don't know. Isn't it Australian culture to get on the blower and sort it out?
I forget how Queensland you get when we're here.
Sorry.
Get on the blower.
Comes out and takes over me.
Have a natter about the state of origin.
The spirit of Thurston. I don't know.
All right, that's world peace sorted. Let's talk about Brisbane stuff.
Okay.
The greatest city in the world. Jesus Christ. Get excited, Brisbane. Come on. The CFMEU, I want to talk about that. Did this affect your life? On Thursday, there were lots of CFMEU members protesting on the streets of the city, shutting streets down in a sudden response to the High Court decision. Did this affect your life?
Yeah, I chose not to attend because they weren't brave enough to include posters that showed Albo as a Nazi.
I see,
and that's what I believe in deeply. And I wanted to attend if they were going to do that. And they weren't endorsing misogyny and violence. So it just wasn't for me.
Okay, right.
It was all about workers' rights, which who cares?
Boring.
Yeah. But no, it didn't. I think the traffic was bad though, I hear, for people who,
Anyone get affected by the protests?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that okay? It was annoying?
I loved it, they said, for those. Cheering out the window.
Yeah, give that a round of applause, everybody. That's what we like. Yeah, they were stopping other people having to go to work. That's worker solidarity right there.
That's so true. Collective strike, yeah.
It caught peak hour commuters off guard, with police forced to step in quickly to shut down roads so the action could take place safely. The group was protesting yesterday, that's Wednesday's High Court decision of the CFMEU's attempt to appeal the union's forced administration. Members argued the Queensland branch never had any allegations made against it and shouldn't be included in the federal government takeover.
Sounds reasonable.
That seems like a pretty good argument.
Yeah. Not according to the High Court.
No. Max Chandler Mather wasn't there at these protests either, do we know?
Yeah, good question. Was he spotted? Any journalists there? Just that was their sole purpose, there to see if Max was there.
Well, he's not getting paid by the taxpayer. That guy doesn't give a fuck. This High Court decision came down on Wednesday. It was a unanimous decision, completely rejected pretty much all the arguments the union had, sort of appealing against the idea of going into administration. Interesting sort of, the reasoning. Two of the dodgiest points to me stood out. Here we go. CFMEU argued that putting the union into administration constituted a punishment, which would constitute an overreach. We're only supposed to be punished by the courts and not the executive government in our system of laws that we all love and treasure. The government argued nothing in the law infringed on human life, bodily integrity or liberty, and thus was not punitive.
Yeah, I mean, not good for... I don't know. Like, is that all that punishment is?
I guess if they don't put you in prison, then we're
then
sweet.
it's not punishment. There you go.
I would argue
Good to know.
taking away internal democracy so that the people that you want to vote for to represent you in your union is a form of liberty.
Punishment.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
The union argued the changes were an impermissible burden on the implied freedom of political communication because by removing its officers, members are not represented by their chosen representatives and are not free to engage in political activity with each other unless permitted by the administrator. The Commonwealth told the High Court any burden was justified. It rationally advances the legitimate purpose by taking control of the division away from those who have failed to ensure its lawful, effective operation and temporarily given to an administrator charged with rectifying that in members' interests. Which is like, okay, maybe in some branches, but if the people that they entrusted to look after the union, like in Queensland, haven't been accused of anything?
Yeah, of failing to ensure its lawful, effective operation.
Yes.
Like, it doesn't quite track, does it? It's a little bit weird. I mean, I was doing some kind of weird backflips on this because we've spoken on the show before about this, and my question has been about, like, is it reasonable? I think it is reasonable to be like, it is collective punishment and it's unfair to put the union into administration in these other states where the situation is that members who then have their rights kind of stripped away from them because they were betrayed by a leadership who, maybe did things that weren't representative of them. And so then it's like collective punishment is shitty there. But in this instance, you've got the members out in the streets in hundreds because clearly they think that these leaders who have been kicked out are representative of them. But makes sense because they weren't even fucking accused of doing anything wrong.
No.
So I just don't understand
In
his
the Queensland
reasoning.
example, obviously, as we've said
In
before.
the Queensland
yes, there are clearly some officials that did some very dodgy stuff. We're not saying there's no there whatsoever. But yes, in particular branches in which that wasn't the case, it just seems like a complete overreach and a very heavy-handed response.
Yeah, I also, kind of forgetting how this whole thing worked, I went to the CFMEU Facebook to see what they'd said about the protest and their explanation for it, forgetting, of course, that they're in administration. And so the Facebook is clearly run by the administrators. And so the Facebook posts are like so funny for the CFMEU because they're just these like sanitized kind of videos of like shiny clean workers being like, have your say on the diversity survey. And then there is one post on the High Court ruling which says, quote, today the High Court ruled that the administration of CFMEU construction is lawful. It's now time to draw a line in the sand from our recent history and move forward. Sorted. So nice. 75 angry reacts. 33 laugh reacts. Comments are turned off.
Yes, comments have been put into administration.
Yes.
Oh, why are they still posting?
I don't know.
Just say we're taking a little break from social media.
That's right, for mental health reasons.
Well, the administrator, this is the guy's response, Mark Irving. The Construction Division's administrator, Mark Irving, told Nine News that the High Court decision is final. I've advised staff and members that any action this morning is likely to be unlawful industrial action, and I've directed them to return to work. Which is just like, wow, sounds like a champion for workers.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Sounds like a fucking boss.
Stand up, fight back.
The union have said that there are maybe more walk-offs and strikes. There might be a 48-hour work stoppage soon. They're lobbying for the administrator to meet with the Queensland branch specifically. And it's sort of interesting in the Meanjin and Brisbane context because, of course, there's a lot of construction going on for your beautiful Olympics.
Yay.
And so construction workers... and you can feel the electric excitement in the room. When will 2032 get here? People are very excited, and that could be like having a big impact if sort of construction workers are walking off.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting, like, we obviously have this huge burden of a potential massive infrastructure build in light of, like, and in the lead up to 2032. And if we don't have people to build it, it's kind of awkward, isn't it?
Quite annoying.
Yeah.
I think we got a sense of the electric vibe for the Olympics in the room. How's it all going? All the headlines I'm reading are pretty negative.
Yeah. I mean, I think that this is the thing. The further we get away from the last Olympics, like the people who like the Olympics care less. The people who get excited around the Olympics are kind of asleep in their Olympics fever. And I think, honestly, already we're kind of sick of talking about it. And we've got 5 years left. Wait, seven years
7
left.
years left.
Fuck. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that at least they're not going to be woke, and that's the main thing. The Queensland government plans to repeal a requirement that half the board overseeing the organising of the Brisbane Olympics be women and at least one member Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander. The change to the organising committee board is contained in an obscure clause in a broad-ranging piece of legislation sponsored by the Deputy Premier, Jared Blige.
It's Blay.
Oh, whatever. I don't give a shit. According to a written briefing by the Department of State Development, Infrastructure and Planning made during consideration by a parliamentary committee, the bill would enhance efficiency and effectiveness by removing certain requirements for the appointment of OCOG board directors. It'd be very inefficient to have women there.
That's right. What about when they've got their frickin' period? Is this like a Trump? Is this like a DI thing or whatever they're doing over there where you can't do diversity and inclusion anymore?
I guess so.
It's bad.
How inefficient is it to just employ women? To advertise and talk to women.
Anything could happen. Anything could happen. I don't know.
It's also going to be great for the environment. A binding provision that the 2032 Games be climate positive has also been reportedly removed from the Olympic host contract. It will now aim at removing more carbon from the atmosphere than what the Games project emits. Is there going to be CCS? Is that going to be an event?
I guess. But then I guess maybe we're talking offsets. It's always fucking offsets.
Always the offsets.
Always offsets.
I love the offsets.
Yeah.
They work. Legislation introduced by the government will see all Olympic venues, including the stadium at Victoria Park, exempt from major planning rules, including the Environmental Protection Act, Queensland Heritage Act, and Planning Act, among others.
What do you need them for? I don't know. Again, efficiency, Tom. Get with it.
I think you're just salty because you were hoping for one of those positions on the board. Finally, should we talk about tax reform?
Whoa. Crowd is going wild. For those listening on the stream, people are going nuts right now.
Lock the doors, please. Jim Chalmers is dialling up Labor's determination to deliver bold tax reform to improve the budget and support productivity. The Treasurer used National Press Club address to set a high bar for the round table he will lead in August. Are you excited about the round table?
Always. Nothing happens at a square table. There's too many pointy edges, but a round table, I tell you what, Tom, it's magical.
I hope there's not going to be any
The
inefficient women there.
No, as long as there's no women or Aboriginal people, yeah.
I thought this was interesting. The round table will begin in August 19th. It will be held in the Cabinet Room with Anthony Albanese to provide an opening address. The choice of venue is meant as a signal that participants should leave aside vested or sectoral interests, with attendees told to prioritise practical ideas in the national interest.
Yeah. Only good ideas in the Cabinet Room, of course, famously.
There are no bosses or unions anymore. Classic Scott Morrison good tweet during the pandemic there. Chalmers declared tax reform is needed to fund increased spending on defence, of course, and the care economy, while warning that traditional revenue streams will be threatened by the net zero transition. That's the Australians' framing, by the way. Threatened by the net zero transition.
I love what they write as fact. I love the Australian.
What are you hoping for tax reform? What do you think they will talk about? What do you think they should talk about? What kind of tax reform is Emerald Moon hanging out for?
Very different answers to the questions that you just asked me. What do I think they will talk about?
Right.
Insurance stamp duty.
Yep.
Or something, and whatever's going to benefit the richest in the country. What I want them to talk about, What do we want them to do?
Tax the
billionaire, the
rich.
rich.
The billionaires,
Yeah,
the
that's it. Yeah, I want to tax the rich and, fix our teeth, dental into Medicare. What do you mean? Do you want me to just read out the Greens policy platform?
Yeah, that'd kill some time. That'd be good.
Yeah.
Chalmers declined to engage in what he called the rule-in, rule-out game, saying this was cancerous for reform, and refusing to close off options, even if he personally disagreed with them, such as increasing the GST.
Oh, that's not good.
Red flag.
Yeah, that's
Although,
not a red flag.
did you know that private school fees and private health insurance are exempt from GST?
No.
So some people, like Greg Jericho, had a list of ideas of the sort of things they could be talking about, and he put that one out there as well. Which I know, we've got some issues with the high level of private fees.
Yeah, they're going to do that, aren't they?
Yeah.
Do something around private health. Anyway, yep.
The Conservatives have their own ideas. Special tax breaks for mothers should be considered as part of an overhaul of the tax system to better support modern families, a coalition MP has argued.
Oh.
Garth Hamilton, who's a Queenslander.
Not ours.
What the fuck you people want, man?
Not ours.
He said everything must be on the table to redesign the system in favour of families. He's basically talking about a lifetime tax break for mothers to both encourage, which is something they've tried in the far-right government of Hungary, to encourage women to have more children, but also to help them save for their superannuation, I believe, to improve their super balances.
Right. So not exactly like feminist icon here. I was going to say, wow, they're helping women.
They're helping women.
LNP learning. Okay, feminists. No.
Another right-wing take I enjoyed, Neil Mitchell. Are you familiar with Neil Mitchell?
No, who's that?
Yep, there we go.
Boo. Okay.
He's a right-wing commentator.
Yeah,
He used to
I
be
hate
on
him.
radio in Melbourne all the time. And he tweeted, "Boomers beware."
You need that tattooed on your forehead. That's the name of your book, isn't it?
Available now. Jim Chalmers is talking about intergenerational justice in tax. That means a tax on boomers who actually did a bit to build this country.
They're so easily triggered, aren't they? They're like, it's about me and you hate me.
Someone replied to that tweet, "Quite astonishing. It's class warfare using the tax system." And then Neil replied by saying, "Generational warfare."
Wow.
So he's like, don't talk about class. We don't want to talk about that.
No.
So I guess we'll wait and see. The Greens, I assume, are not going to be invited to the round table. So we'll just keep doing podcasts. I
Yeah,
suppose.
too many women. Yeah. Look, we've kept you waiting long enough though
yes.
for the main fucking event, which is our guest, who today is the Queen of Brisbane's West, an award-winning architect, my personal style icon, and the newly re-elected Greens member for Ryan, Elizabeth Watson-Brown. Please welcome Libby to the stage.
Get over Libby, everybody!
Libby.
Hello. Hi, Tom. Hi, Emerald.
Hi, Libby.
Thank you for allowing me on your show. I'm a boomer.
And a woman.
You know,
And
and a woman. Yeah.
Are you terrified about boomers being taxed under Jim Chalmers as
Yeah.
coming?
No. I've been for that the whole damn time, even since I was sort of basically not a boomer originally, because there was no such term.
No such
In the
term.
olden days. We didn't have generations in the olden days.
Now, Libby,
Hang on, what the fuck are you talking about?
we didn't have generations.
Gen
It's
Z.
a-
You did those labels, okay, right. But you had people of different ages, yes.
Yeah.
How old are you exactly?
Getting there.
Getting there.
Getting right up there.
Best age.
Very elderly. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for asking.
No, that's all right. You look delightful.
Moving right along. Now, Libby, I don't know if many people are aware of this, but I think you are probably the first person who, in the wake of the 2022 election result, put Greensland on the public record because you stood up on stage and you said, "Welcome to Greensland." Yes.
Hello, Greenslanders. Oh my God, that was a night, wasn't it?
It was.
Who was there that night? Who was there?
It was, yeah.
Oh, I've got no idea what I said. You were there, you were recording.
I was
but
there.
mean, stuff came out because I was up on the stage, and I sort of had this speech prepared, sort of to say, listen, you lovely volunteers, thank you so very, very much for all of the efforts. Look, no matter what, whatever the result is, and we don't know that yet, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I had no idea.
Meanwhile, Anthony Green calls it on the screen behind you.
Anthony Green flashes up on the screen behind me and said, "Oh, I'm calling Ryan for the Greens."
Yeah.
And everyone just around. and that image of me going, "What the?"
Love that.
Because they told me I couldn't win.
They fucking did. They
and
did.
I
They said
agreed
you can do it.
to run.
Yes. Sorry about that, Libby. Yeah,
Thank
sorry.
you.
You
I
were
got
ready
the
to retire.
imprimatur of the family
Yeah.
to do it. And I said, don't worry, we can't win. They told me we can't win. That's all right.
And the retirement plans have been fucked up a little bit further because
I did apologise to my husband for that.
Yeah. Pete, who is a danger dog. We love
Yeah,
Pete.
he's a
Shout out Pete.
danger dog, yeah.
Now look, despite being, again, identified as one of the most vulnerable seats for the Greens in the country in this most recent election, and you're a key target seat for the LNP,
Target.
you just won the election. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Come on!
Thank you. Thank you, I think.
Thank you.
No,
well,
really.
yes, thank you, I think, because this is the thing. It's a bit bittersweet, I imagine.
It's bittersweet. There's a
Because
lot
you're
of
the
grief.
one Greens MP returning to the lower
The
house.
only Green in the village. Of the lower house of the federal parliament, but I've got a great mate. I do chat often and we counsel each other, Michael Berkman, who is the only Green in the village in the Queensland parliament, but they don't have an upper house, do they?
Yes.
So we've got some amazing senators supporting us there. The numbers are diminishing a bit. Sorry to mention that, I didn't want to go there, but we've still got sole balance of power in the Senate, you know? So I'm in the lower house. Who knows what's going to happen? I haven't been back there yet. I'm going to feel like that lonely girl in the playground, you know, no friends, eating my Vegemite sandwich in the
Oh my God, you're breaking our heart.
Hope it's not halal.
Yeah, that's right.
with all of the bullies coming after me because it's bloody rabid there.
What's your relationship like with the Teals and the O'Fillers and the crossbench there?
Look, we kind of chat. We chat.
Yeah.
We're not all great mates or anything like that.
Yeah.
There are some I really like. I'm not going to mention any names. The more kind of, more progressive ones, let's say, and it's a big spectrum. Tealdom, very big spectrum from kind of almost a little bit progressive to getting fair way over to the right. But anyway, no, it's good to have some mates there. You know, I realised in the seating plan we're going to be retreating around that horseshoe arc a bit. I think I'll be 5 seats over that way. Little old lonely me, surrounded by teal. But I've still got Bob Catter sitting in front of me.
There you go. So, something
Thank you, Queensland, again.
Something
Another one of Queensland's gifts
Another Queensland
to
success
the
story.
world.
That's right.
And he's just there. He'll never go away.
Yes, well, much like the Crocs that
Much
are,
like the
in
Everyone
North
thinks
Queensland running
he's
riot.
he's going to be actually carried out of that house.
Potentially.
In a pine box.
and
But
you'll be
anywho.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so we wanted to talk to you about the election result. Everyone has a take. We're still poring over it. But Max Chandler-Mather did an interview with Daniel Lopez for Jacobin recently, and he about the election, and he makes this point, and it's a bit of a long quote, but I'll read it out.
Not really, from Max?
From Max, I know. He really doesn't have much to say.
Sorry, I do adore it.
Okay, so Max says, quote,
Greens infighting at the Serious Danger podcast.
Yeah, you said
wow.
it. You saw it.
Factional drama.
Bullying allegations mounted.
Quote, for the first time in my experience, the Greens faced a coordinated national attack campaign. At the same time, it became very apparent just how few large institutional allies we had. In that sense, the result did expose some of the limitations the party faces right now. We don't have the same complex series of inner and outer trenches of institutions, think tanks, public intellectuals, and mainstream media institutions that the political establishment has. So he's talking about saying that this hasn't really been talked about enough. We not just the advanced side of things, that kind of coordinated attack, but the more mainstream opposition from news media, business groups, the Labor Party, it's supporting unions and donors, and they all kind of dovetail the same talking points and attacks on the Greens. So, I mean, is that something, do you agree with that? If you agree,
Could not agree more.
how do we fix it? What do we do?
Good question. What are we going to do, people? We should take a poll and see what people want to do. No, we actually have started talking about this. We do need allies. We do need groups. We do need big civil society groups to actually be part of our movement in a more kind of active
Libby,
way than
I
they
to
have
say,
been.
Make sure you're holding your microphone
Yes.
up this way so that
All
the
right.
people at home can hear, because you're about to fix the Greens. And so if we miss this,
Yes,
it could be
I
kind of
flail
fucked
it
up.
around. Yeah. But I couldn't agree more, and honestly, and you feel it. I mean, the whole world is freaking against us at the moment. The whole system, and we've just got to keep on working to kind of break that down. You know, the duopoly, all of their puppet masters, all of their financiers, the whole thing's rigged against us. And they didn't see us coming last time in 2022, do you know? But boy, did they see us coming this time, do you know? They didn't even think, they didn't even imagine that the Greens could get anywhere. But this time, all of those dark forces, all that dark money, all rallied against us.
Yeah.
All actually, you know, conspiring and working together. And that's a kind of a metaphor for what I feel happens in the lower house, in Parliament. You feel, and this is going to be even worse now with me just there, with my little, and they're all of those bullies in the playground are just kind of, you know, and it's brutal. You don't get a sense of it, even if you're one of those weird nerds who listens and watches
Because it's
question
louder
time.
in there, right?
It's loud.
Yeah.
And they're screaming at you, and the microphones are very directional. I'll try to make this one that way. And you don't pick up all the cursing and the swearing and the kind of abuse that actually happens. So you have to be pretty tough.
Yeah.
You have to be
Go,
pretty
I
tough.
reckon. Just don't
Stay
rock up.
here.
I had a lot of training. I've been involved in a very male-dominated profession, let's say for 50 years. I see some beautiful, gorgeous people out there who I remember from our profession. That's those people in black turtlenecks down there.
Architects.
Richard Di
I love
Natale?
you all. I love you all. No, but you know, like that's pretty good training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For this kind of bear pit.
When you talk about those civil groups, it's tricky, right? Because you talk about NGOs,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
literally can't be partisan, right?
No,
like
they
there's actually,
can't.
no, in terms of
Yeah.
legal
Not
arrangements,
officially.
they simply can't do that.
Yeah.
So then what have you got left? You've got unions, okay? We've had
they've been tied up, haven't they? A little.
they're a bit busy with
Just a bit
some
busy.
other people, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, we've had some donations in alignment with some unions, and like NTEU is sympathetic, but yeah, that's a tough word to get. And then think tanks, I mean, we have the Green Institute, which, you know, I think is a very, very valuable thing that exists, and that's good. It doesn't have the highest profile out there, I think that's fair to say. And then the Australia Institute, which often produces research and has folks that are certainly, amenable or in support of or in solidarity with what we're going for, but again, still also has to maintain a non-partisan position, right?
Do you know what's missing? The mega bucks.
The mega,
The mega bucks and the interest in keeping the system going to keep the mega bucks flowing to those, you know, to that system.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, so it's an interesting one. We've started talking about it, and it's honestly a big project that I think is one of the next projects for the Greens, is how we do that. Do you know how we do that? And that's the way we're going to kind of keep on kind of building and growing and inveigling ourselves into the rest of the community. And
If you can make it sound a little less sinister, that would be great.
It's all about power. It's all about me.
That's the next advance act, right?
You're famously a power-mad demagogue, Libby wants it right.
You can tell.
It's really coming out now,
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to talk to you. Like, this is the kind of fucking ridiculous thing about Ryan, is that it being a target seat for the far right and for the LNP, and Advance were targeting it, spent a lot of money into your seat. But at the same time, they're trying to say that you, Libby, beloved grandmother, like former small business owner, etc., everyone's favourite person, is this horrible goblin who wants to steal your baby.
Evil witch.
Yeah.
You can tell that's who I am.
Yeah. Do you think that made it hard? Like, did it make it harder for them?
I think people were having trouble believing that, even though we had pantechnicons, you know, going past the pre-poll booths with my face on it, you know, saying things like, and people were handing out how to vote cards, sort of saying, you do realise that Elizabeth Watson Brown wants to kill your children by
and
getting...
Libby's like, hello!
by getting them addicted to hard drugs, and then they go further on the line, and I'd say, "Oh, give me a hug, darling." How?
And that's when she slips the little bag into their pocket.
I keep getting these images of the grandma in Little Red Riding Hood. Maybe, you know, like, oh, what big teeth you have, grandma! Even though you've got a but you know, I think it. I actually think it was counterproductive, and just anecdotally, you know, I've had lovely people coming up to me at our free community meals that we host three times a week in Ryan.
Evil stuff.
Just a little plug, which is so fantastic because I get to be out there and meet lovely people and share food and chats and things like that. But anyway, this woman,
scope out your victims.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, get the rotisserie.
It's all vegan except for the babies.
So sorry, but this lovely lady came up to me and she said, "Oh, Elizabeth, I've just got this terrible piece of stuff in my letterbox." You know, it was that awful stuff with pictures of me as the witch eating babies and all that sort of stuff, and saying how evil she was. And then on the same day, I got your beautiful letter and flyer about, you know, all of the lovely things that you're doing. And she said, "Look, I used to be a Conservative voter. I've voted Conservative all my life, but they're bastards, those people, and you're nice, so I'm going to vote for you."
There you go. Here. And it worked.
Just one little anecdote, but you know, like, I don't think it washes, and I have a much higher opinion of the intelligence and judgment of the Ryan electorate clearly than they do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bloody oath.
Bloody oath.
Bloody oath, mate.
It's funny though, because there is, yes, I think you come across, when people see you and meet you, they might think you are more palatable, perhaps, less radical than some of your Greens colleagues like Adam or Max. But do you think that that's true? How would you compare your politics to theirs?
It's the same, isn't it? I mean, what is radical? Define radical, please. Yeah. No, but that's interesting. And what is radical? I mean, this is the way I think about it. I think all of our policies are just incredibly humane, practical, doable, about looking after human beings. I mean, what's extreme and radical about that? What's extreme about wanting everyone to have a roof over their heads, do you know?
Yeah.
What's extreme about wanting everyone in a country like Australia or across the globe to live in peace, you know, to be able to have a meal, you know, to have properly funded education and healthcare and stuff like that? It's not radical. So people are painted as radical maybe if they've, I don't know, marched in the streets or done something like that, you know, like, but it's not radical. So we all share those values and we all share that politics.
Yes.
The vessel's different, isn't it?
Yes.
The messenger is different sometimes.
You know,
there are
it makes a
firebrands
difference.
who are
It's funny.
exciting and lovely and adore them all. And then there's other people like me.
People. And then there's me.
We need that, yes. I mean, Emerald has said many times on the show, you learnt this in your politics course, as radical comes from the Latin, which means from the root.
Oh, good.
Is that right?
Thank you.
So, yes, I mean, when the meaning of it or the association of the term radical has been polluted and changed a lot. But yes, if we're talking about, the thing that I like about the Greens policy platforms is they do try to actually go to the root and address the problem that we're talking about. As opposed to a Labor policy agenda, which is mainly about tinkering around the edges, managing the economy to try maybe make it a little bit better somewhere, but rather than going to the heart of what's the actual issue that's causing the problem.
Totally, and it's also about helping their mates, let's face it.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, the duopoly and, as I said, all of their puppet masters and funders, which is just such, you used the word polluted, it is such a screwed up and polluted system now. So those original notions about what Labor was about, and also what the Coalition and the Conservatives are about, all been totally polluted in this horrible soup that is actually, this very, very terrible kind of soup of kind of hyper-influence.
A perpetual stew that's gone bad.
Perpetual stew that's been on the cooktop for way too long.
Well, so I wanted to talk a little bit about your history, though, because, I mean, you mentioned people marching in the streets. I think you, despite coming across as less quote-unquote radical, whatever the fuck we mean by radical, you've probably been involved in left politics, radical politics for longer than a lot of people in this room, right? What was it like? You know, what do you think it was about the Joh Bjelke-Petersen era? You grew up in Brisbane. You grew up in that era. What was it about Joh that radicalised people?
Well, I've been involved in lots of things for longer than most people in this room, not just part of No. Well, it sort of sharpens the mind when you're living in a police state, you know, run by a dictator. Do you know? And you know, like,
Don't mince words.
It sharpens the mind. And so, of course, we were out there on the streets.
Yeah.
We were marching for the right to march, for goodness sakes. Do you know? You could be arrested in those days for hesitating with intent to loiter. And the cops would just turn up and, so that was pretty damn...
Hesitating with intent
to loiter.
They're
just slow walker.
The young people today, you don't know how good you've got it. You can't be arrested for that. No, but it does sharpen the mind. And there we all...
Did someone say bring it back?
No, I I'm with you. Whoever said that, I mean, slow walkers, annoying, right?
I'm sure that's what Joe was going after.
Yeah. So there we were, all those publicly funded university students with all that time on our hands. It was an interesting time, actually, because I started uni in 74. I realised to my great shock last year that I'd started uni 50 years ago, which is pretty... And that was year one of Whitlam's Free University. You know, so that was pretty interesting, and this is the world that I want.
Yeah, pretty interesting.
Yeah, pretty interesting.
That's fascinating.
Apology.
You know what's interesting? My HEX debt.
Boomer apology.
What a wonderful, interesting tidbit.
I'm here working for it, Tom, baby. We want it back.
I'm sorry, I'm not angry
No,
at you.
that's all right. And we had so much time on our hands, we just needed to go and demonstrate in the streets. No, but
need
it was...
a job.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you were fully there out on the streets. Did you see a lot of police violence?
Oh,
on
God,
your
yeah.
friends? Yeah, right.
Oh, God, yeah. Friends arrested.
Yeah.
All of that. You know, there were big demonstrations where it was decided, actually it was my husband who actually kind of stirred this up one demo and basically said to everyone, just put your hands up and walk forward and everyone get arrested and we'll fill the watch houses to absolutely overflowing. And did that just to kind of remind the community that there are people out there looking after their interests and, you know, just to show that force and those numbers against that police state. It was it was brutal.
Yeah. And
was.
I've heard you speak before about things like the Bellevue Hotel being demolished, and you know, Joe had his Dean brothers, and they would come in and knock things down in the middle of the night. And you were saying that you remember kind of going there as the bulldozers.
Yep, lying down in front of the bulldozer. Workplace health and safety. That was another thing that didn't exist in the 70s.
Don't try this at home. But that was a lot of that was about public ownership, right?
Totally.
That's, I think, a big thing for you.
And just Joe, you know, the dictatorial thing, just saying, I own this stuff and I can fucking destroy it in front of your eyes, you know? And so all of those things, and this is what's terrifying too, is the symbolism of all of that. You know, and we were fighting to try and, you know, I suppose, you know, kind of keep heritage infrastructure and those sorts of things, but that was also emblematic or even a metaphor for keeping all sorts of other things as well and just standing up against that.
Yeah.
Because I'm fascinated by that. Because yes, your background is in architecture and like town planning kind of world.
Yeah, urban design. I can't claim to be a town planner.
No, okay, sure.
Yeah.
But like, that would strike you as a pretty technical, you know, creative graphic design kind of world. But how do you marry that kind of work that you do with also your radical politics or your idea for progress?
It's all the same thing.
Yeah,
you
really.
know, like I used to always say to the students in my team, look, what we're doing is really important because we are designing and building the infrastructure of all of the lives that we share. You know, and that and architecture and the way we shape our cities and everything, that is symbolic and emblematic of our aspirations as a community. And this houses everybody, do you know? And I still get a big thrill, and I know the architects in the room I'm sure feel the same way, the thrill of actually kind of having an idea and thinking about what that might be and how that houses people in life, and then the whole complexity. It's a very slow and complex art that has to be collaborative, and then you get to a point one day where that thing is there and it houses life and people. And it's a huge kind of metaphor for me about what we're doing.
Yes, I was going to say, you can hardly walk 2 steps in Brisbane as well without Libby. If you're with Libby's, I designed that, by the way. Yeah, I designed
What a
that building
wanker.
too. No, it's incredible.
Yeah,
it is.
Partly being old, but yeah.
Sure, okay.
Is it true or are you just making shit up?
She'd believe anything.
Very naive.
No, but it is a bit scary when the map, when you kind of think of the map of the city and think of all of those places that you've been kind of part of shaping.
I love it.
But the reverse is true too, right? The evil architecture, like that hostile architecture bullshit to discourage like homeless people sleeping on benches and stuff like that.
It can be evil, all of these things. There are two sides of these coins, aren't there, all the time?
So there's a new
Depends on
documentary that has just been released. I think it screened at the Sydney Film Festival. It's on Stan, I believe, or it will be soon, called Joh, Last King of Queensland. Have you seen it or you heard much about it?
No, I saw a little bit of a preview and I really want to see it.
Yeah.
But I'm gearing up, you know, I think I have to feel strong because that's pretty powerful stuff if you see the footage of those demonstrations and all of that sort of thing. Yeah. But, you know, that was how I was politicised, I suppose, and that's kind of we've carried that with us since that kind of era.
Yeah.
And it does percolate up, and then here we are trying to still trying.
Yes.
Still trying.
Well-
It's a long game, isn't it?
Yeah, well, and I saw in the blurb for this film, just maybe before we finish up, I saw this quote. So it says, Trump's spectre is evoked in Joh's famously mangled and meandering way of speaking, alongside his unyielding execution of power and the desperate denial of his final days in office. So do you see echoes of Joh reverberating now?
Absolutely. Absolutely. All these weird old guys
Weird old guys. Enough weird
who
old
can't
guys.
speak or think. And they've got weird hair. I can't remember Joe's hair. He had a funny hat, and that's another. But, like this whole thing about these people who seem ultimately incredibly stupid and incredibly venal and can't string a sentence together. What is it? What is it about? How do they get into those
cling to power,
They
right?
cling to power. They get it. With Joh, it was gerrymandering. It made it very difficult to get rid of him. Same stuff's happening with Trump as well. So it's really alarming, and we need to actually take it damn seriously and work hard
Yes.
against it.
Yes.
Yeah, which is what I reckon we're doing,
Yes.
Bloody oath.
aren't we? Greenslanders.
Yeah,
Because we
couple
started
of
a bit
questions.
late. Yeah. Conscious of time, there is a show here at 3, but we did start a bit late. So we thought we'd just take like 1 or 2 really quick questions if you have for Libby or any of us. We'd love to hear from you guys. And then we'll say goodbye.
We'll have to repeat the question after you say it, by the way, but if you just yell it at us. Has anyone got one? No? Good. All right, well, thanks so much. It's been lovely.
No questions about the state of the fucking world.
A few questions there, aren't there, about the future? But anyway, we're working on it.
Does
for you.
seriously no one have a question?
Will Labor side with Liberal or the Greens in the Senate this year?
Okay, I'll repeat that. So will Labor side with Liberal or the Greens in the Senate this
Not
year?
if
do
we
you
can
think?
help it. Not if we can help it. I suppose it depends on what issue,
Yeah.
and it depends on just how sleazy those two are. The evil empire when they get together. And honestly, as I said before, they're kind of all conspiring, basically, the lot of them, to get rid of us. Let's
Yeah.
face it. That was the big focus of Advance and all of that other stuff. This election was basically to get rid of the Greens. So when they get together with all of their powerful backers and all of that, they can do that stuff. But honestly, I've got great hopes, having sole balance of power in the Senate, that we will actually be able to do some decent
Yeah,
stuff.
we can't lose anymore. No one quit. Please.
If there are any Green senators out there, please don't go.
And if there are any Labor senators out there, come on over.
Come
Thank
on
you.
over. As you said, the water's nice.
Yeah, the water's
Come on
nice.
over. Yeah.
Just quickly, Libby, I mean, you're talking about the conversations that you're starting
yeah.
to have as a party room now. Are you thinking about or strategizing for the inevitable attacks if Greens do find themselves in a position in which they're going to block some legislation of a point of principle to try and hold out something better? Everyone, of course, is going to lose their minds.
They'll all lose their minds.
Yes. Are
We've
you
just
ready
got to
for
make sure, we've got to be ready for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's inevitable.
Yeah.
The media is totally on the side of the evil empire as well, as we know. And not certain elements in the media, but yeah.
Not
I'm not
us,
in the
are we?
no. But, so we've really got to have that straight, And we don't have those, they call them organs, do they? Newspapers and things like that.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm the last person in the world that goes to the newsagent and actually buys newspapers. I did this morning. Everybody else gets their news other ways, which I think is the hope for the future too. I hope that nobody's
Podcasting.
reading the Courier Mail and it's podcasting.
Thank you very
are the
much.
hope. It's over to you. No pressure.
Hang on, I just elected you.
No pressure. It's over to you to save the world. Thank you very much, everybody.
You've already retired.
All right, one more question. Sorry, did I cut someone else? Was there someone else who wanted one out there?
Yes.
Hello.
Oh, sorry.
No, please.
I'm just wondering how you are all maintaining your ability to persevere during this increasingly difficult geopolitical landscape that we're all trying to maintain any sanity.
All right, so for the listeners, how are we managing to maintain our perseverance in the increasingly difficult geopolitical climate? Is that effectively
How do we hang on to hope? I believe we
Yeah.
have this question at every live
every
podcast
question?
that we do.
Yeah, every show.
which is totally fair enough and understandable.
Because good question.
Yes.
Yeah,
Over
I'm
to you,
going to
Libby.
say, can I say something about
Please.
this? Because hope has to be our currency, right? It's really easy. Everyone's been beaten around the head. Everyone's been brutalised by the system. It's terrible. But what we can have and what we can have together is, sorry, this is a saying Grandma Core type statement.
We love Grandma Core.
We all have to kind of just have this hope, and it's not just flowers and hearts kind of hope. It's actually practical and active hope. You know, hope as a verb and the way we actually go out and act in the world. And I've got this little kind of, my motto is bravery and utility. I think I might have said, and it's a sort of I'm actually a shy person, and I really suspect that both of you are too, but we all have to, it's true.
I'm a pick-me girl.
Yeah.
Very shy. Very shy.
But we all get out here and we do these crazy things because our friends asked us to, and we get out there and we get elected because that's what people wanted us to do.
We all get out there and we
elected.
get elected, right?
Don't you love it when you get elected?
I recommend it. It's
relate,
great.
I
I
lost.
recommend it. Yeah. Yeah. So we've all just got to keep on working hard and trying and actually enacting that practical hope. Yeah.
Bravery and utility. I do like
Yeah.
that motto.
Yeah,
I
my
have heard
tutor
you say that
staff wants
before,
it to be
Libby.
made into a Latin kind of term, and I'm imagining a crest with a wombat and koala rampant on, but
But will it be? It won't be blue. It won't be maroon. It'll be green.
It'll be green.
The thing I always say this is there is no alternative, right? What are we going to do?
Yeah.
And I've said this on the show over the
No
past couple of
choice.
weeks since the election. It's you think, oh God, we're defeated, it's all over. Then you see the Labor do something like approve the Northwest Shelf gas, the gas shelf, and you just think,
Murray,
exactly.
what?
And you think,
Yeah.
well, someone has to
I'm
exist to resist
sorry.
this. Someone has to fucking call
Yeah,
this out and
exactly.
work hard. And if anything, to inspire you to fight for a better world. It is seeing
Yeah.
terrible decisions like that coming
Yeah.
from a supposedly progressive government.
Yeah.
And
choice.
no matter how bad things get, human beings have never flat out given up, right? There are still people resisting. There are people
Yes.
resisting
Yep.
in Donald Trump's America. There's hope in campaigns like Zoran Mamdani in New York, who's running for mayor there as an openly, explicitly socialist platform.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's just what else are you going to do? We can't give up. That's not an
Yeah.
option.
What else are you going to do?
Yeah.
Well, that's all we've got time
Oh,
for.
yeah, we should back it up. Yeah,
We've
that's
got to
it.
finish the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Libby Watson-Brown, everybody. Let's hear the member for Ryan. The greatest grandmother in the world.
Now,
Thank you so much for being here, Libby. We'll just ask you to
Absolute
hand over
pleasure.
your
I
mic
shall
to our
depart.
wonderful producer as we'll say goodbye. Please welcome to the stage our producer, Michael the Griffin, everybody.
Michael the Griff.
Hi, the Labor Party isn't what they used to be. They're not the party of Gough Whitlam anymore.
That's all you wanted to say. All right.
Actually, could I just tell a quick story? I used to run before this was Good Chat, this basement venue we were in. It used to be, we used to run a venue called Magic Mike. Chris Martin and I, Brisbane Stand Up.
Wait, as in you, Mike?
What MIC is small mic.
Sorry.
Because it was a microphone.
God, I understand.
And you used to
And-
strip as well. Yeah.
And I would strip it at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But this venue used to be called, it would change its name. It was Calypso, then it became Fritzenberger or Fritzberger. And the logo was like this F in the circle. And they
Yep.
put that logo all over the place, including the men's bathroom had this F with this. And it was so
That is
much
confusing.
fun being here. And every 30 seconds or so, you'd hear this, ah, oh, ah, oh. then
And this is what the libs want, right?
The future the Greens are fighting for.
And I came back the next week and the whole door was painted black.
Oh, okay.
Beautiful. Well, we love being here. We love returning. Thank you so much for coming along and selling out the show again. Can we give a huge round of applause to everyone who works here at Good Chat for having us, everybody? One more time for Libby Watson-Brown. Our producer, Michael the Griffin. My name is Tom Ballard.
I'm Emerald Moon.
Thank you very much, Danger Dogs. We'll see you
Danger
again.
Dogs.
Bye-bye.
Serious danger to Australia.